Now, the silence is absolute. This is the signature weapon of Lavos, our new Alchemist-based Warframe, and it's called the Cedo. It is a fully automatic shotgun that also has a secondary function where it shoots out a glaive that will bounce off the ground and off targets and then cover them in multiple different status effects. But on top of that, the damage of your primary fire is then increased by 60% for every element that is afflicting your target. So it is a primary weapon that has an innate condition overload effect built into it. Now, condition overload has a 120% buff for every status element, but the Cedo's damage scale up is basically half of that, so you gain a 60% chance, so a mini condition overload effect on the shotgun. It is, I think, the first weapon we have in game that has this effect built into it, and it is the ideal weapon to combine with Lavos, who can spread status effects around with ease, and then of course his ultimate ability will deal more damage depending on the amount of status effects afflicting a target as well. So it does really stand out with a Warframe like Lavos. However, if you're not using Lavos, it is still really good. You can simply just fire out the glaive with your alt fire, prime enemies with as many status effects as possible, and then wipe them out with your crit based primary fire, or with a melee weapon if you're not already using a Nuka for priming targets. Now, it sounds great, right? It sounds like a really good weapon and a really good idea. A primary shotgun with built-in condition overload and two separate fire modes, one crit based and one status based. But I will say it before someone else does in the comment section, it still doesn't kill as fast as melee weapons, and that's the problem right now with all of our new and of course our old primary and secondary weapons. Regardless of how cool they are or how well they perform, they all fall short. And that's, I guess, a discussion for another video, but it is good to see a weapon that has a scaling element to it based on the amount of status effects on targets, which allows you to ramp your damage output up in the same way you would with melee weapons. And although the Cedo deals one of the lowest base damage amounts of all shotguns in game, its other stats tend to balance it out. Its primary fire is crit based and the glaive, like I said, is status based. 20% crit chance and a decent crit multiplier for your primary shots, and the 50% status on the glaive when it bounces off enemies, which can reach 100% very, very easily. Now, the glaive also consumes no ammo because it returns to you. It explodes on impact, dealing blast damage as well as throwing out slash damage on targets that it hits. So that's two status effects right off the mark being applied right away before you mod for viral heat, corrosive heat, radiation, viral, magnetic, and so on. And according to the wiki, it also has a slight chance to proc one of the 4 elements that Lavos can imbue onto his ability. So it can have a slight chance to proc either heat, cold, toxin, or electric on top of the elements you already have it modded for. Now, like I said, combining this shotgun with Lavos and running around with that is probably how you're going to get the most out of it, simply because the sheer amount of elements he can spread around. But that doesn't mean it's not going to work well on Saren, Volt, or any other Warframe that can spread around status effects. But I found that with Lavos, if you cast his Vile Dash through a large group of enemies, fire the weapon's glaive to spread even more effects, and then use his ultimate ability, it is a huge damage bump. As for builds, or how you would go about modding this is the 2 different ways I would mod. You could go for a crit and status hybrid build, or you could go full on status setup like I did with Configuration 2. Entirely up to you. It's your weapon, your game, have fun. As always, let me know what you think of the Cedo in the comment section below, and thanks for watching.